Okay, so to diagnose this system, it's having an issue, although it's working. Whenever you start it works, and you can see that the sparks are working. So what I'll do is I'll diagnose the system and see the actual problem with it. Although we can turn them on and off here, everything is on, which means there shouldn't be any fault in the system, but we are still having faults in the system. So let's diagnose it and see our trouble codes. So this is our main trouble codes. The crankshaft, the brake switch, this thing doesn't have a brake switch, so we will not look to it. But now the main problem is the camshaft problem. So the two camshafts are not working, camshaft sensor A and camshaft sensor B. So normally what you can do is, with this one, they've given you the pin out here, so you can test them at this point. So these are our two cam sensors. So what I'll do now, as the vehicle is running, or if I like, I can do key on, engine off. So the key is on, the engine is off, the RPM is down. The RPM will work because of the cam sensor, and this is where the cam shafts are. So what we'll do now is, now we are coming to test on this one before we do anything related to the scoping. So now what I'll do is I'll connect my multimeter to ground, one side to ground, to check for the voltages. So I'll connect my multimeter to ground to test for the voltages. Normally when you switch those switches on, it causes break in one of the system, but now all of them are on. So that means there shouldn't be any fault in the system, but we are still facing a fault in the system. So what I'll do is I'll try and test. So testing for this, let me switch my multimeter to voltage, and let me test on the battery and see if I'll get the same voltage on my breakout box. So 12.5. So that means my voltage and everything is okay. So now what I'll do is I'll try and test the sensors. So let me start from this pin 1. Pin 1 is the signal line. So when you test pin 1, you can see I'm getting the signal line to be 5 volts, and there is ground, so it's supposed to be 0 or below 0. And there is my 5 volt reference, like my 5 volt supply, power supply. So let me go to the second sensor, which is sensor B, and check. So this one also, I'm getting 5 volts on that, and let me test on the ground, and I'm getting ground voltage. And also let me test on this, and I'm getting 5 volts. So what tells me is that the control board is supplying voltage to the sensors. So what I'll do now is I'll go to the sensors and try and measure the voltage from the back of the sensors socket to see if the voltage is getting to its destination, because now the control board is sending the voltage, and I have to check if it is getting to its destination for it to work. So I'll use the scope in assistance in doing that, because with the scope also you can do that with the scope. So for this scope, I'll set it up and I'll do the testing from the back of the socket or from the back of the sensors down there. So let me set the scopes up. So there is 5 volts, 12 volts and 5 volts per division, and the time is 10 milliseconds. Then let me set up this also. So with this one, I'll change my voltage to, let me go change my voltage scale. I'll change my voltage scale to 1 volt per division. Then I'll bring the volts down a bit. I'll bring the line down a bit. So now both of them are sharing a common ground. Both of them are sharing a common ground, and the ground is from the is from the breakout box. So now what I'll do is, because of the scope, I'll also test from the pin out. So now I'll test. So anytime I test, you can see the voltage is up. Then I'll test this one, supposed to be 0. Then I'll test this one also, and you can see my scope voltage is up. So what I'll do now on this scope is I'll change the time base and set it as the same as this one. This one is 10 milliseconds. So I'll set this time base also as 10 milliseconds. So let me move it to 10, 1 milliseconds, 5 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds. So now both of them are having the same time base. So now what I'll do is, let me check on the other sensor also, and you can see it looks like this scope is a bit faster when it comes to the reading of the voltage. So let me turn it to the other one also, and you can see it goes faster before the Handtech. The orange goes faster before the Handtech. So now what I'll do is I'll let one of the students go to the back of the unit, and I'll test it from there and see where the broken is. So from there, then I'll know what to do from there. We'll take the socket out and we'll test it from there and see if we'll be getting the same voltage on those sockets. So we'll be doing it on the first one, on the cam B. So the cam B we are testing, and the first pin. So on the first socket, on the first pin on cam B, we are getting 5 volts. Move to the next one. We are getting 0 volt, which is the ground voltage. Move to the third one. And okay, so now I've added the multimeter to it so that we'll see the voltage in the multimeter. So move to the next one. Yes, the next one is not working, which is this, which is 5 volt feed. But when I test it here, I got the 5 volt feed. So that means from this point to the sensor is where the issue is. So now you are not getting any feed from that side. So what we do is now we will go to cam B, cam A, and also check and see which side is having the issue. See, take the cam A socket out and let's test on that one. Okay, so start testing. Pin 1. So that means on cam A, pin 1, we are getting voltage. And on pin 2, which is the ground, and pin 3. Okay, so now what we do is we are getting all the voltage, but we are not getting the power supplied one here. So what we do is we check what is causing the problem. Then after that, we will scope the signal and see. So let's check it. Now we are testing on the cam A and see if you'll be getting all of them. So check for pin 1. Pin 1 is not working, and pin 2 is ground, so supposed to go to 0. Then pin 3, yeah, which is the 5 volts. So that means with this one we are having issue with the signal side, and this one we are having issue with the power side. So we'll repair the wire, then we'll continue and see if you are going to get the signal and see if this fault code is going to go to pending. Came to check the back of the sensors, the connectors, and we found out that this one, which is the cam B, is opened, and which is the cam A is open, and the cam B also is open. So although all the faults are in, but we still have an issue here. So what to do is we repair them and fix them, then we check for the signal if they are sending signal to the control unit. Okay, so now we have repaired the wiring, and let me place it in, and you can see I'm getting a voltage. So what I'll do is I'll rescan it. I'll clear all the fault code and see the fault code that will appear again. So let me recycle the ignition. That means we have no fault again. So let me go back and reread it. That means I don't have any fault code related to the cam and crank sensor, both A and B. So that means the issue is fixed. So now let me turn on the speed. So the moment I turn on the speed, you can see that my RPM is going. So now let me check my signal, and you can see I'm now getting signal on my scope. So now what I'll do is with this scope I have to set a trigger. That's why you see it behaving that way. So let me set my trigger. Let me set my trigger up. Then with this scope the trigger is already set. So let me push this trigger up. So let me change the time base so that I can get, and you can see that the multimeter is averaging the voltage that I'm supposed to get. So the multimeter is averaging it, and you can see its voltage. So on the scope you can see that I'm getting the actual signal. So let me change my time base here. Then after that I'll change the time base on the other one also. So let me set my time base to, let's say, 100 millivolts. No, let me do it 50 millivolts. And you can see my signal. So let me change the time base here also. So with this one also I'll do 50 millivolts like I've done here, and you can see both of them I'm getting the same signal. So let me change from this pin to cam B and see if I take it out, you can see I'm having a 0 volt. The orange scope works faster than the Handtech. So you can see that it has taken a while before the Handtech starts to produce the signal needed. So this is a fix. So at least now we can use this machine again to do other diagnosis. So it wasn't that the machine wasn't working. The machine is working, but just that we are having wiring issue. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more videos.